Now we're going to talk a little bit about hops. Hops are primarily used to balance the sweetness of the malt flavors in the beer. And although hops have not always been used in beer, different types of plants were used for that purpose in the past. Hops became very popular. They're a great preservative of beer. If you know the India Pale Ale story, India Pale Ales were made to ship beer from Britain to the English colonies in India, and they added more hops and made a stronger beer because of the antiseptic qualities of the hops, which became ingrained in that beer style. We still use hops for bittering, but now we get a lot of other flavors from hops that we generate by using the hops later in the boil. So if we get bitter flavors by pitching the hops early in the boil, we get more aromatic and flavorful contribution from the hops as we pitch them later into the boil. Now, those flavors that we might get sometimes may not seem all that great. A lot of the bittering style hops that we use have flavors that go along the lines of garlic and onion and diesel oil. Doesn't sound too pleasant, but certainly actually has a place in the flavor of beer. You've maybe never broken it out to those types of flavors, but they're kind of in there from those bittering hops. The aroma hops that we use these days, and we have a much larger palette and selection of aroma hops, can bring flavors ranging from earthy and floral or spicy that we see in some of the noble hops that we're familiar with in German beers, those great German Pilsners and Helles style beers. In American beers, we see a lot more of those bright fruity flavors, citrusy, tropical, specifically like passion fruit and guava, melon. A lot of great flavors coming from hops, and the hop breeding programs are trying to find new and interesting hops that brewers can use to flavor their beers, to make another wonderful accent to the malt flavors that we draw out of those malts. So, very important piece of beer. We're actually going to have a chance to look a little bit about how we select the hops every year, which we do. We go to the Yakima Valley in Washington. We work with our vendors to select the specific hops that we want to use in our beer, so our brewers can deliver very consistent and flavorful beers for you to sell to our guests. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I think you'll find it fascinating. I certainly do. So every year our brewing team goes to Yakima, Washington to select the hops that we'll brew with for the following year. It's a great opportunity to ensure that we have the most consistent and best hops possible, and that we have the same supply throughout the entire year. Here we're going to see the little bit of the processing. These gentlemen are hanging hop vines on a picking conveyor. They're going to go through what's called the picker, where millions of tiny little metal fingers will pick those hops off the vine. When they exit the picker, you can see the hop vines are pretty beat up, and you can also see all the vegetable matter and hops that are going up that belt to get separated. We want to make sure that the hop cones are separated from all the seeds and twigs and leaves and pieces of the vine that have come through the picker. Once they're all sorted out, these hops are going to be transferred across to this big drying bed. On the drying bed there is hot air forced up from below, from big furnaces, dries these hops to the perfect moisture content to be pelletized and sent on to our breweries. From the drying bed, the hops go over to the cooling room. This warehouse is essentially a big room where the hops can cool off before they are baled. They need to be cool because hops are an agricultural product, so we need to ensure that they don't have a lot of excess moisture or a lot of heat inside the bale when they're being baled. Here we see the hops going up a belt, heading towards the baling operation. This is the baler. These gentlemen will sew up the bale. It actually takes about 6 to 8 minutes per bale to bale these up and handle them. Once they're baled, these hops are transferred onto a truck and sent to one of our vendors, where they are then pelletized and turned into those little rabbit food looking pellets that we brew with in the brewery every day. So here we see the cross section of a hop flower. Those yellow glands, which are lupulin glands, have all the good stuff that we want as brewers, all the resins and oils and great aromas in there. This gentleman's pulling a sample for us out of a bale, and these samples are packaged up and taken to the sensory room where we're going to evaluate them. We've got a lot of work to do today, as you can see. Now in this cross section, we're looking again for those yellow lupulin glands. We're looking at the hops to make sure that they're in good shape, that there's no blight or browning or bugs and not a lot of seeds or stems. We grind them up in our hands and break open those glands so we can get the aromas that are going to come off of this hop. And it's amazing how different the aromas are from field to field, and that's why we're going to check these out. So again, the benefits of us selecting our hops in Washington every year are that we have great consistency throughout the year, and that even year over year we're selecting hops for the same qualities. And of course, we're getting the very best hops that we can and ensuring that great quality transfers over to our awesome beer. So now that we're more familiar with the 4 basic brewing ingredients, you can see how these 4 ingredients bring so much to so many beers. So when you're at the liquor store and you're looking up and down the case and you see dark beers, light beers from all over the country, all over the world, it's pretty astounding to think the brewers have taken their expertise, combined just these 4 ingredients to make all that great beer.